What is up, my Lorcana Goons? Welcome back to the Lorcana Goons channel. My name is Kevin, and you are watching the top 16 breakdown from the Tiana Discard 10K charity tournament that took place over the weekend. This was the biggest Lorcana tournament that we've ever had, if I'm not mistaken, consisting of more than 300 players. Holy cow, this was a 367 player online tournament hosted online through Pixelborn. So shout out Pixelborn, shout out Pavel. Hosted once again by Tiana Discard. Check out her YouTube, their Twitch, all of their videos if you want some prime coverage there on that. They were live streaming it. It was awesome. You got to watch the top 16 match after these 360 some players played a 9-round of Swiss format where it was 2 games only. Yes, we were playing the 2-game format, not best of 3 like we're used to in GCG tournaments. If you didn't know, this is the 2-game format that we are going to be using and playing for the Lorcana Challenge. These are the big Lorcana events that are happening very soon, starting in May with Atlanta, and I think one in France, Lily, also happening in May. That is where you're going to win the Golden Mickey BLT for top 4. And we're going to be doing a 2-game format for that tournament. So the pack Tiana Discard decided that they were going to run a 2-game format tournament to try and provide a similar experience. And we have the top 16 breakdown of all the decks with a first, second, top 4 and top 8 as well. Yes, we do have a first place list and standings for this breakdown. It was a Ruby Sapphire deck that took first place at this huge tournament, piloted by Christopher Anderson. Shout out this true Lorcana Goo for getting first place with Ruby Sapphire. We're gonna get on into this list just right now, but before I get into that, I want to say, hey, like, comment, and subscribe if you are a Lorcana Goon, and if you want to support the channel, it does help a lot. We're gonna go over this. We do the market watch videos, we do tournament breakdowns, we do meta reviews, etc. But we have the set championship happening this weekend. So I'd like to think that a lot of people who are going to be playing their set championships are going to be paying attention to not just this video, but other meta breakdowns, going over these lists that other people have been posting. In general, you want to keep up with the trending meta, especially if it involves it being the biggest Lorcana tournament that we've ever had. I'm pretty sure you're going to see some of these lists at your local game store if you are playing your set championship this weekend. But real quick, I want to go over the top cut breakdown pricing so we can check out what the top cut actually won for this tournament. So the entry was $35. Like I said, it was 9 rounds of Swiss, and if you made top 16, you were given $250 as a cash prize. Top 8 was given $525. Top 4 given $1,000. Third place got $1,300. Second place was giving $1,600, and the first place winner by Christopher Anderson playing Ruby Sapphire received $2,000 for first place as a cash prize. Love to see it. Not just this awesome cash prizing for these awesome Illumineers playing their heart out, but check this out. There was also the charity aspect of the tournament. We had an additional $5,000 at least committed to the charity from this tournament. Tiana Discard making history once again. Shout out the Tiana Discard for doing so much for the Lorcana community. This is literally the biggest tournament that we've ever seen, being held online on the Pixelborn platform. Shout out Pavel for, you know, providing something like that for us, for players to be able to play the game. If you don't know what Pixelborn is, check out our live streams that we do. I don't have a consistent date for those yet, but check out our live streams on the channel, and then you could also find the Pixelborn simulator through Google. Just type in pixelborn.com and it should come up. But yeah, I don't know if you guys heard this also, but there was more than 4,000 people. I want to say even more than 5,000 people live watching the finals for the tournament, and a total accumulating of YouTube and Twitch. But on Twitch alone, there was more than 4,000 people, about 4,700 people watching the finals for this tournament. It was on the Twitch front page apparently, so that is freaking awesome. Yeah, Tiana Discard actually just making Lorcana history with this huge tournament. Ending up on the Twitch front page is pretty crazy. Seeing almost 5,000 viewers for this game, and the game isn't even a year old. That is just, honestly, I did not expect to see it. I am getting a little emotional right now. This game is getting a lot bigger than I ever anticipated. So if you guys thought it was competitive now, just wait until those golden Mickeys and these Rockstar stages start coming up from set championships. But if you're going to be playing any tournaments this weekend, either for that Rockstar Stitch or even if you're going to Atlanta. I'm pretty sure these are the decks you're going to see. So pay attention to these top 16 decks, starting with first place. Christopher Anderson playing Ruby Sapphire Popsicle in this $10,000 top cut prizing tournament. 367 players. Wow. First place, Ruby Sapphire. I didn't expect it. Sometimes this deck feels a little too lucky for me to want to play, but when you have an amazing pilot and it's your day, you can accomplish anything in this game. It is freaking crazy. Check out this deck list. We're seeing some new cards being played that we normally would in Ruby Sapphire decks. We have a 4 Popsicle, 4 Develop Your Brain thing going on. That's per usual. We are playing the 4 One Jump and the 4 Fishbone for our ramp with the 4 Grandmas. We love a Grandma deck. We're only playing 3 Gaston though, which is very similar to the Grandma, but we're only playing 3 of them. Normally we see 4 there. We got the 4 Mauis, the 4 Flavor Shams, because those are mandatory staples alongside the 4 Tamatoa and 4 Maleficent Dragon. And you want to make sure you're playing 4 Be Prepared because it is a control deck. But check out some of this spice we got going on here. We have the 1 Judy Hops. I mean, I was playing 2 or 3 Judy Hops in my Ruby Sapphire deck because everyone's just playing Flute around where I live, or everyone's playing this deck or like a type of Sapphire deck, and Judy Hops just, you know, get rid of the Fishbone Quill. That's really powerful. But we are only seeing 1 in this list, and then we're also seeing 3 Let It Go. We haven't seen Let It Go be played in Sapphire since like the first format. I want to say people weren't even really using this card in Floodborne format. So to see Let It Go again, that was pretty surprising, but not too surprising for me because I've been slowly on Let It Go in this deck because you just need outs to the aggro decks, and you know, or even just decks that are a little bit more fast-paced than you, like Ruby Amethyst. Ruby Amethyst is an aggro deck right now, but that deck just naturally has a much better opening curve than you. Not even better, it's just more of an aggressive curve than you on the turns 1 through 4. They can spam up to 3 to 4 monsters, and if you don't draw the right cards, you're going to be way behind in the game. And sometimes having a Let It Go helps you catch up, because all of your big characters that you want to play against most of those matchups, against any matchup actually, they're already going to be cost 5 or higher. The Mauis, the Gastons, the Tremaine, and the Medusa, they're all higher than 5 cost, so you can sing Let It Go the turn after. It feels pretty good to be able to go Medusa or Tremaine. Your opponent has to get rid of an Ursula or a Flynn Rider or something, and then next turn you can go play Maui, kill, bump into your other characters, sing Let It Go with the Medusa for something that I couldn't get rid of because you just played it this turn. Hitting their ready characters is actually really powerful against a lot of the more aggressive decks like the Emerald Amethyst, which is probably what you struggle the most against when you're playing a deck like this. You have such a slow early game that you really want to be able to control as much as possible until you get to that turn 6, turn 7, turn 8, when you're already able to play your Tamatoas early, your Dragons, your combinations of Lucky Dime and Gaston. We also don't really see Shield of Virtue be played in this deck. It's been a while. It is a 1-cost item that you can play on your turn 1 in case you don't open up Fishbone Quill, in case you don't open up Popsicle or something like that. You can play Shield of Virtue, so that turn 2 you play 1 jump ahead, and on turn 3 you'll have 4 ink available, assuming you draw an Inkable, and you'll be able to play Flavor Sham to draw 2 cards on that Shield of Virtue from turn 1. So it's a pretty good like deck building strategy. It's like preemptive planning for that combo if you don't open up, and it's just an item that cost 1 in this deck. So there are some times where if you don't open up Popsicle but you did open up Flavor Sham anyways, or Fishbone Quill, you know, you're gonna be able to play Flavor Sham on turn 4, and that's really important. Sometimes you don't want to pop your Fishbone Quill if you are playing them on turn 4, so having a 1-cost item can do that. I feel like maybe the Shield of Virtue doesn't get too much play outside of that, but in some scenarios I'm sure it does, being able to ready back your Scar in extra time, or a card like Tamatoa to challenge again, or even something like Gaston where you quest with it, ready it back, and now he can't be banished by a Fox or a Maui or something like that. So you're going to be able to add extra pressure by keeping them ready. My only problem with Shield of Virtue is that it costs 3 ink, which is kind of a lot, but in a deck like this where you're just ramping ahead of your opponent, that 3 ink might just become irrelevant, because I've seen this deck get all the way to like 12 to 15 ink. But yeah, that's kind of how this deck plays out. Shout out you, Ruby Sapphire player Christopher Anderson, for getting first place with this Ruby Sapphire deck. We also see Lucky Dime making an appearance, never getting old in this deck. Lucky Dime, I see. Now we got second place Sapphire Steel by Emmanuel Mignone. Check this out. Sapphire Steel getting second place in this tournament. I thought it would be something like Amber Steel or even Ruby Amethyst, but hey, Sapphire Steel, second place. Another Sapphire deck. Sapphire making a very big impact on the meta right now. We're playing 4 of the following: Fishbone Quill, Develop Your Brain, Popsicle. We got the Robin Hood Goons. We also were playing for Flavor Shim, Whole New World, and Giant Tinkerbell with the Robin Hood, Champion of Sherwood, and Cogsworth at 4, because Cogsworth is going to make your Amber Steel matchups just that much easier. Not just Amber Steel, actually any Steel deck honestly has to bend the knee to playing Cogsworth, even double Cogsworth. It is so hard to out, so you can just leave this card on the board. All of your characters gain resist +1, and against the Steel matchup, it means their Tinkerbell first effect is going to be irrelevant. Their Grab Your Swords only do 1 damage. Their Zeus only does 4 damage. And if you play double Cogsworth on any Steel deck, you might as well just, you know, scoop the game up, because they have almost no out to that, assuming you don't quest with your Cogsworth, obviously. So if you guys are playing Cogsworth, don't quest with them. It's just better off, you know, being on the board like that in a Steel matchup at least. So yeah, in the Steel matchups, Cogsworth is game changing, which is pretty cool. So that's why we're seeing 4 of those. Yeah, Sapphire Steel taking second place. If you want to see the last final match, you can check out the VOD on YouTube, on Tiana Discard's YouTube. I think it might be on Twitch as well. But she was streaming, she was commentating it with Specimen, Speci, the other Lorcana YouTuber that was on the streaming side for this weekend's tournament. That dude also does some awesome Lorcana content on YouTube and Twitch. So go check out Speci and Tiana Discard's channel if you want to see the finals for this tournament. But two Sapphire decks in the final. Some extra spice we don't normally see in this list is probably what Bell, Strange but Special. We have been seeing a lot of Bell be played though as of recently. With the combination of Lucky Dime and Bell, you're able to gain that 5 lore in 1 turn. On the turn you actually play Bell is what I'm trying to say. So if you set up a Lucky Dime play, if you play Bell on turn 10 and you already have 10 ink, you just got to pay an extra 2 ink. You tap your Lucky Dime to the left by exerting it, and bam, you gain 5 lore from that Bell, Strange but Special being played. It is pretty awesome. It's a pretty awesome combo. We're also seeing 2 Benja in this list. We got 3 Fire, the cannons. That is looking like a new meta trend. That's looking like a new meta trend in Steel decks right now. And then we're playing Sami at 3. Sami is just a really good 2-drop, probably the best 2-drop character in the game. And we're also playing 1 Jump Ahead and Whole New World, because it's Whole New World. It's probably the best card in the game right now, outside of maybe even like Fishbone Quill or something. Be Prepared and Goats and Rabbits. But Whole New World is up there, dude. This card is insane, being able to refill your entire hand, constantly inking with Fishbone Quills just to see more Whole New Worlds. And we're finishing it off with 2 Tamatizi at the bottom corner right there to ensure that we have some power plays in this deck, which are very important. I also want to mention that Sapphire Steel is playing 3 Grab Your Swords, where a lot of other Amber Steel lists or even like Emerald Steel lists are only playing 2 to 1 Grab Your Swords. Sapphire Steel can afford to play 3, and Grab Your Swords is really good right now because there's so many people on the Amber Steel lists, on these Emerald Amethyst lists, and those decks really get hurt by Grab Your Swords. So this deck definitely has its place in the meta if you're playing it. And of course, we have to have a Ruby Amethyst in top 4 because it's a Ruby Amethyst, and this color combo has been the best since the first chapter. Point is, though, shout out Dave Solberg, Attack for 2, getting 3rd place in this 367-person tournament, playing 4 of the following. We have Olaf, Rafiki, Cusco. We have the Petting Zoo package with the snake, the fox, the goat, and the rabbit, all at 4. We're playing Friends on the other side, Maleficent, Maui, and that is all for the 4 ofs in this deck. We are playing 3 crabs. We're also playing 3 Medusa, Tremaine, the Queen's Castle, and only 3 Be Prepared, with that 1 Scar acting as our 4th Be Prepared is what it's looking like. This is very interesting. I want to talk about this because there was a point in this game like a week ago, last week, whatever, where I just wanted to cut Be Prepared out of my deck entirely and play 4 Scar. And you can't do it. You can't do that. You have to play at least some Be Prepared because you just, like, you know, you're rewarded for playing one of the best cards in Lorcana right now. But there's so many outs to Be Prepared right now, whether it be Whole New World, whether it be flooding the board with Cuscos and Rabbits, or even something like Bare Necessities and Ursula, even just general discard deck. Like, it's such a crazy card because turn 7 is so far away. right now in Lorcana, the way you have to set up. So I understand why players are cutting out some copies of Be Prepared to add the 1 Scar. I understand why players are playing 1 or 2 Scar, which you're going to see in this list, because it helps you out the aggressive decks. It helps you out character decks also that can snipe out the songs from your hand. You know, relying on Be Prepared as your board wipe, as your equalizer card is just not what you can do this format right now. And I feel like playing a card like Scar is really going to get you there. It also helps clear locations, which is really important, you know what I mean? Sometimes the locations get a little out of hand when you're playing Ruby Amethyst because you have a lot of small characters and you're heavily relying on drawing a combination of Crab Maui, Fox Crab, or even like Fox Maui, stuff like that, to be able to out these hefty locations like McDuck Manor or like 2 copies of Queen's Castle. But alongside these cards, we're also seeing 2 Maui's Fishhook and 3 versions of Crab, like I mentioned. I also want to mention that we're playing the 3/3 Tremaine Medusa combo. No Maleficent Monsters Dragon. Our removal is just going to cap at turn 7 with the Mana Medusa Tremaine, followed by Be Prepared if we have it. So I do like playing 3/3 if you're not playing a bigger removal, because this removal is just really important in the early game, I think, with Ruby Amethyst. And yeah, Scar making a big impact in the meta alongside Pinocchio, Talkative Puppet, which I see a lot in the Ruby Amethyst meta. I feel like Pinocchio plus Rafiki is just too good to not play against a lot of the decks early game. In 4th place, we have Green Steel Tiana Discard, piloted by Jared Weed. Shout out you for getting top 4 in the biggest Lorcana tournament ever, playing a discard deck, playing Emerald Steel Discard. Look at this. We have 4 copies of the following Merfolk: Robin Hood Goons, the Flynn Rider 2-drop, Mr. Smee, Sudden Chill, Ursula Deceiver, Kick, Cloud Kicker, Let the Storm Rage On, Prince John. We're playing 4 Prince John, Ursula Deceiver of all, Friar Tuck, and last but not least, the Robin Hood Champion of Sherwood. Alongside them, we got 3 Baboom, 3 Strength of a Raging Fire, 3 Sad Boy Beast, and 3 Tiana in this deck. To round that off, Tiana making an appearance in the middle of the format. Look at this, dude. If you don't know what Tiana does, a 4 ink uninkable, quest for 2, has resist +2, a stat line of 1 strength and 4 willpower, with an ability that says when this character is exerted and you have no cards in your hand, your opponent cannot play actions. And in this deck, you can easily fulfill those requirements. It's pretty easy, if you ask me, to resolve this Rizana effect of to resolve this Tiana effect of not having any cards in your hand, and being able to constantly exert it means that there's very few outs to Tiana outside of maybe something like Maui. So when you're playing a discard deck, if you've already discarded your opponent's entire hand and then you drop Tiana on them and you keep questing with Tiana, they can't come back to the board with cards like Be Prepared. They can't use a Whole New World, you know, and you're really going to cut them off of a lot of resources. If you're playing against Amber Steel and they were relying on that Whole New World, you set up this Tiana play, they're going to be stuck for a minute because that deck does not have many outs to Tiana. We're seeing Friar Tuck get some action now in a lot of these top Emerald decks. Friar Tuck is a card that says when you play this character, if your opponent has more cards than you, they discard a card, basically. So opponent, I think it's opponents as well. So if you are playing in multiplayer, this card actually has a little bit more use case, which is kind of funny. Yeah, it actually says player or players with the most cards in their hand chooses and discards a card. So it only works for one player or both players if they're tied, if you are playing a multiplayer match. So, you know, just throwing that out there. If you are playing multiplayer games at home with your homies or something, maybe throw in Friar Tuck into your discard deck so you can watch multiple people discard cards from their hand. But being able to fulfill the requirement of your opponent having more cards than you is actually really easy, especially when you're playing so many little guys like the Merfolks and the Robin Hood Goons characters. So this deck is pretty awesome. I love to see it. Nothing really too special going on here. I do want to mention that Prince John and Ursula Deceiver of All are it's such a crazy combo. If you play Ursula Deceiver of All on turn 3 and she survives, you can play Prince John on turn 4, seeing Sudden Chill with the Ursula Deceiver of All. Your opponent's gonna discard 2 cards and you draw 2 cards off the Prince John, and you just keep generating value that way, and it's pretty powerful. And this is the reason why we're seeing some you know, steel decks like that, like the Sapphire Steel, play 3 Grab Your Swords, because Prince John is a little problematic in against some of these decks over here. So yeah, love to see it. Emerald Steel Discard by Jared Weed. Shout out you getting top 4 in this biggest tournament ever of Lorcana. Another Sapphire deck in top 8. Now we have Daniel Vissen Serek. Shout out you for getting top 8 with Sapphire Steel in the Teo Beastie 10K charity tournament. We're playing 4 of the following: Develop, Popsicle, Mr. Smee, Fishbone Quill. We also have the Flavor Shims, obviously, and the 4 Cogsworth alongside 4 Whole New World, 4 Beast, and 4 Giant Tinkerbell. We're only playing 3 Captain Hook and 2 of the Bell Strange but Special, 2 Rise of the Titans, 3 Mickey Mouse, which is very interesting. I don't really see the Mickey Mouse Detective be played in Sapphire right now. I feel like everyone's really on this 1 jump ahead turn 2 so that you can Flavor Sham turn 3 off the, off your curve. So, but Mickey Mouse turn 3 is also a very good play. If you don't always open up Fishbone Cool, you can play Mickey Mouse Detective. We got the 2 Bell Strange but Special, the 1, and then along came Zeus. Only one of those. This list playing also playing Let It Go, playing 1 copy of Let It Go, 3 Grab Your Swords like we just talked about. We got 3 Gaston, 2 Lucky Dime to combo off with your Gaston and your Bell Strange but Special, and then last but not least, we're playing 3 copies of McDuck Manor. This location being very powerful right now can be really troublesome for some of these decks, especially like something like Amber Steel, or even like late game in a Ruby Amethyst. If you're in a simplified board state, it's hard to out some of these locations. This is a 1/9 location. 9 willpower, only costs 4, and will generate 2 lore for you at the start of your turn. You can combo this off later on in the game with stuff like Lucky Dime, but you just have so much ink going around because of your Fishbone Quill ramping that you're able to play this really early on, and they just can't out it sometimes. Unless you are playing copies of Rise of the Titans, like Daniel over here is playing Rise of the Titans, because this card is not bad right now. You're going to see this also be played a little bit more in the upcoming weeks, because the locations can be a little problematic for some of the decks. And if you are playing Steel, you can play Benja to out the items, but the problem is that Benja does not out locations. Instead, some people are playing Rise of the Titans because it does both. It helps you out items and helps you out locations. More and more Sapphire decks in top 8. We have Michelle McGlory Gods SLII. Check this out. That was a hard name to pronounce. You ended up in top 8. Congrats to you. Ruby Sapphire top 8 deck list. Let's break this down. We are playing the following 4 of Popsicle, Develop, Fishbone, 1 Jump Ahead, the Flavor Shim, the Mauis. We also got 4 Dragons and 4 Tamatoas to round that off. We are playing the 1 Shield of Virtue. More people playing that 1 cost item so that we can pop it on turn 4 with the Flavor Shim 1 jump combo. So we got the Shield of Virtue at 1. We're playing 3 of the Queen of Hearts. We also got 2 Judith Hops in this list. We got 3 Grandmas, not 4. We are playing 3 McDuck Manor. I just talked about McDuck Manor. We are seeing this card a lot in Sapphire list. The first place list did not play this card, if I'm not mistaken. No, they did not play this card. The first place list did not play the McDuck Manor. We also got 2 Tremaine, 3 Medusa. Sometimes I also run with this ratio because Medusa's a lot stronger in these Steel matchups. We are only playing 3. Be prepared. Once again, check this out, my goons. Only 3. Be prepared. Just like I was talking about, this is a card that you maybe don't want to see all the time in your hand because of how often it gets sniped out of your hand by Bare Necessities, Ursula Deceiver, or even just any type of Whole New World deck. It's actually insane. We are playing 1 copy of Hades, which is something that's pretty new. Other decks were playing Let It Go, but this person is playing Hades instead. Just the 1 copy though, because Hades is uninkable. And then we got 2 Lucky Dime and 2 Scar. Scar being able to do similar things as Be Prepared to help you equalize the game state a little bit, and also helps you out a lot of locations. But yeah, awesome to see. Shout out you for getting top 8 with Ruby Sapphire. This list looks definitely a little bit different than some of the lists we've been seeing. I like the addition of Hades. I like the addition of adding 2 Scar and cutting out 1 Be Prepared. It just makes sense to me, this format. A lot of people are playing 4 of the Queen of Hearts, but you got away with playing 3. That makes sense. I'm partial to playing 4 Grandma, 4 Gaston. I just feel like I need the consistency in this deck because I'm so unlucky. So, sometimes this deck does live and die by drawing your Flavor Shim combo. At least that's how I feel sometimes playing this deck. I love this deck though. This deck is so good. I just don't. The skill ceiling is also really high for me. I am not good at pulling into my outs with this deck. This deck is really hard to play in my opinion. So shout out you, Michelle McGlory, for getting top 8 in this tournament with Ruby Sapphire. Next up in top 8, we have Amethyst Emerald, piloted by MKLC, playing 4 of the following. We got Merfolk, Rafiki, Flynn Rider. We got the Petting Zoo package, 4 of the Snake, the Fox, the Rabbit, and the Goat. Only 3 Crab, though. Only 3 crab though. We're also playing 4 Ursula Deceiver friends on the other side, Queen's Castle, and 4 Ursula Deceiver of all. That is going to be the legendary / enchanted Ursula. And we're playing 2 of the Turn-the-Box followers, 3 Cloud Kicker. We got the 1 Pinocchio Talkative Puppet because that's just good this format, 3 Maleficent Sorceress, 2 Yzma, and last but not least, 3 Mother Knows Best to round that deck off. Mother Knows Best being your very few removal cards in this deck, alongside stuff like Kit the Cloud Kicker, which is going to help you keep a lot of tempo. Tempo meaning you're going to be able to keep that board control alongside playing cards on curve with like cards on 1 cost on turn 1, a 2 cost on turn 2, and by turn 3 you can play Kit Cloud Kicker. You can remove an opposing character, and now you might have more board control than you did prior. So that tempo swing with Kit Cloud Kicker is very important in a deck like this. The only other removal you kind of have is the Pinocchio Talkative Puppet, which is really powerful with Rafiki. If you play Rafiki turn 1, your opponent plays any 1 cost on turn 2, and then you respond with the Pinocchio on your turn 2 with being able to exert their character so that you can swing over it with your Rafiki. It is such a power swing in the way the game kind of plays out. So I really like that combination. I would want to play maybe even more than 1 in a deck like this, but you are playing 60 cards and it looks very tight. This list very aggro. This deck in general is pretty aggressive. It just generates a lot of lore fairly quickly. A lot of times you don't really care about bouncing cards to the opposing hand with Mother Knows Best or Kit Cloud Kicker because you're really just trying to keep control of the board and generate as much lore turn by turn as possible. You can play really heavily into Be Prepared with this deck as well because of cards like Rabbit. They're very forgiving. You can also play cards like Ursula Deceiver because you're able to look at your opponent's hand and snipe the Be Prepared, you know, like we were talking about before they can even play it. And a lot of times playing that Ursula on turn 2 gives you enough information so that you know how to play out your next few turns. You can hit Grab Your Swords with that card. You can hit Zeus. You can hit a variety of songs that are going to keep your opponent in the game, sometimes hitting their only inkable song against Amber Steel as well, slowing them down a lot. So Ursula Deceiver is a very powerful 2-drop in this deck. I think this deck has a very strong place in the meta. You're definitely going to see it this weekend at the set championships, and this is probably one of the more aggressive / consistent decks that I would see on the ladder. So if you feel like if you're going to run into a lot of slower combo decks like Ruby Sapphire, maybe you want to play an Amethyst Emerald deck to hard counter that, because opening up turn 1 Merfolk, turn 2 Flynn Rider against a very slow deck is probably game changing. You know, you're getting value off of those discards, and every single turn they survive, you're getting double the value off of their lore. So this deck is very scary. Make sure you know how to play around this list. And congrats to you, MKLC, for getting top 8 with Emerald Amethyst. Another Emerald Steel list piloted by Alexis Valentin Flaxo. Shout out you for getting top 8 with Emerald Steel Discard. Check this out. We are playing a very similar list as the one we did see just a little while ago, except this list is playing Daisy Duck. Daisy Duck being a 4 inkable character that has a 2/3 stat line that quests for 2. And whenever you quest with Daisy Duck, each opponent chooses and discards a card. So once again, very good at multiplayer. So if you're going to play multiplayer, maybe you consider playing Daisy Duck. I don't know. We're seeing 2 copies of Baboom, which we did see earlier, and then we're playing that Prince John package with the Ursula Deceiver of all and Sudden Chill combo. Let the Storm Rage on is also another card I didn't mention with Ursula Deceiver of all. This alongside Mother Knows Best and Strength of the Raging Fire are the songs that you can combo off with that Ursula. But Let the Storm Rage On is actually insane because it becomes a 3-cost song that deals 4 damage and draws you 2 cards. It is actually just unfair to be able to resolve Let the Storm Rage On by singing Ursula. So that's probably one of the main reasons why I would want to play a deck like this alongside that extra combo with Prince John Sudden Chill. Being able to, you know, draw extra cards off of that is cool. Even Strength of a Raging Fire, you sing that twice, you can clear so many big characters in the game actually. And then Mother Knows Best, that's going to be your out to some of these crazier cards like Big Cindy, stuff like in the mirror match when they play an Ursula and you don't have an immediate out to it, you're able to bounce, you know, two of their characters, one of them being their Ursula, and you just gain so much tempo off of that because they have to waste a whole another turn playing the Ursula and maybe the 1-drop again and just waiting. And by that point, your Ursula's going to survive. So if you draw another song, it's GG's. It's game over. And we're also playing the 3 copies of Benja, you know, to make sure we have some item removal in this Emerald Steel Discard list. Shout out you, Alexis Valentin, for getting top 8 with Emerald Steel Discard. Next up in top 16, we have an Amethyst Ruby list piloted by Michael Monzon. Shout out you, playing 4 of the following. You got the 1-drop Minnie Mouse, Rafikis, Cuscos. We have the Petting Zoo package, all at 4. Snake, Fox, Rabbit, Crab, and Goat. And we're also playing 4 Queen's Castle, the 4 Mauis, the 4 Minnie Mouse Surfers. Wow, we haven't seen Minnie Mouse Surfer in a cool minute. And 4 Be Prepared to round that deck off. Okay, and we're also playing 3 of the following. We have... And then we're playing 2 Teeth and Ambitions, so that we can, use that on turn 2 with our Minnie Mouse if we draw into it that way. We're also playing only 2 Maleficent Sorceress, 1 Maui's Fishhook, 1 Jimbo Hawkins with the 4 Queen's Castle combo. We got 2 Lady Tremaine and 2 Madame Medusa as our removal. 4 Minnie Mouse Surfer is actually crazy. I had talked about on the live stream we did a couple days ago about how people were playing Minnie Mouse Surfer again in Ruby Amethyst, so I was playing cards like the Cruella de Vil and Sapphire to out that. It wasn't really the best out, but the point is that Minnie Mouse Surfer coming back into the meta, a lot of times in the Ruby Amethyst mirror match, playing double Minnie Mouse Surfer is just auto GG. That's how it was in the Floodborn format. The biggest difference in this format though is that we have Madame Medusa now, so you have an out to Minnie Mouse Surfer before to be prepared and stuff like that. And we're also playing Maui's Fishhook, and Maui's Fishhook by turn 3, if you play Minnie Mouse turn 3, I play Maui's Fishhook on turn 3. If I'm already have a snake on board, all I have to do is give my snake evasive next turn. So I like the addition of Minnie Mouse Surfer, but it is a little bit more fragile than it was in the Rise of the Floodborn format. So I am playing Maui's Fishhook at 2 because of that, because you kind of want to have an out to the Minnie Mouse Surfer in the mirror match. And again, it happened last format, it's happening this format too. When you play Minnie Mouse, your opponent plays Minnie Mouse, one of you has to have the crab to make sure you can out it, so always play around that as well. But yeah, a very interesting list. It's looking like we're really focused on the early game, playing 4 ofs of a lot of our 2s and 1 drops, and that Teeth and Ambitions in there, man, I'm sure it gets a lot of value when you can sing your Cusco, deal 2 damage to an opposing Cindy or a Flynn Rider or something like that, and then you draw a card off the Cusco, or even just better value on turn 1 when you have a Minnie Mouse and you're able to hit the opposing Rafiki or some other cards that have 2 willpower in the early game that you can't normally out, like the Goons characters, like the Robin Hood Goons or the Queen Goons, because sometimes that Amber Steel player is really heavily relying on that whole new world and that ability to sing or to shift on turn 2 and 3 to sing that whole new world. So if you can stop them with the Teeth and Ambitions, it'll get you there. Speaking of Amber Steel Goons, check out Brennan DeCandio piloting Amber Steel once again in this big tournament, getting top 16 with a Lantern list of 62 cards. We got 4 of the following Robin Hood Goons: Cinderella Ballroom Sensation, Lantern, Ariel. We're also playing 4 Whole New World, 4 Robin Hood Sherwood, and that is going to be all. We have a lot of cards in 3s in this list, actually. We got the Queen Goons, the Bare Necessities, the Banjas, Storm Rage On, Strength of a Raging Fire, Zeus. All those songs we're playing 3. 3 Rapunzel, 3 Grab Your Swords, 3 Queen Commanding Presence, 3 Giant Tinkerbell, and 3 Cinderella Stout Hearted. And then we're playing 2 of the following of Carefree Surfer Stitch to round the deck off. I like this deck a lot. I actually built this deck on Pixelborn. I think this deck plays really well, but sometimes it does feel like you are, like living and dying by the whole new world. And if you don't have that, you really have to hope your opponent plays into the Rapunzel. What's really cool though in this deck is that you have a lot of ways to trigger Rapunzel for free as well. Sometimes you have a 3 willpower character and you could just sing Let the Storm Rage On, deal 2 damage, draw a card, play Rapunzel, heal for 2, draw 2 more cards. And that's not like a bad play to do, and that play does come up a lot. So you are able to do that in this format a little bit easier. But this deck in general, playing Bare Necessities is the reason why. I think it also has a really good matchup in the meta. You can hit the Fishbone Quill before they can start ramping. You can hit the Be Prepared before they can clear your board. And oftentimes it feels like when you're playing against this deck, they have everything. They use Bare Necessities on your Fishbone Quill. They Whole New World do. You draw your Be Prepared and they draw into another Bare Necessities and they do it again and they're just able to look at your hand. It's actually pretty crazy. And Lantern giving you that infinite value. Every single turn that Lantern survives, they get more and more value with this deck because you're able to just basically get 1 ink for free on a character, which is really powerful, especially when you're playing Beast a turn early because you're only paying 4 ink instead of 5, or even shifting your big Cindy a turn early. It's actually pretty insane. Very powerful deck from a very, very skilled player. Shout out Brennan DeCandio. If you want to check out his matches, he was streaming the tournament, if I'm not mistaken. You can check it out on Twitch and YouTube. Check out one of the best players in Lorcana play his games live with this 62 card Amber Steel Lantern deck. Crazy how there was actually no Amber Steel in top 8. It took until we got to top 16 to see some Amber Steel. But we got Aaron Rubin. Shout out Aaron Rubin over here, getting top 16. The Lorcana bro. We've seen him take first place in a couple crazy tournaments. We've seen him top these tournaments before. So this is nothing new to Aaron Rubin, aka Lorcana Bro. Go check out his YouTube channel if you want to learn more about the game and how to be a pro player like Lorcana Bro Aaron Rubin over here playing flute. He's playing Flute. We got a Flute Goon. Aaron Rubin, I didn't take you for a Flute Goon. I don't know why. I felt like you'd be more of a Lantern player, or like a Pride Lance player. You know, you took me more for like a Pride Lance player, Mr. Aaron Rubin. I did not expect the Flute Goon playing 4 Sleepy's Flute with a bajillion songs over here. We got 3 Bare Necessities, 3 Along Came Zeus, 4 Strength of a Raging Fire, 4 Let the Storm Rage On, 2 Grab Your Swords, and 4 Whole New World, because it's Whole New World. You need to play that card. Next up, we got 4 of the following: Queen Goons, Robin Hood Goons, Cinderella Ballroom Sensation. We got Mr. Sami, 4 Rapunzel. We also got 4 Ariel, 4 Queen, Big Stout-Hearted Cindy at 2, and 4 Champion of Sherwood, Robin Hood. This deck, we've seen this deck before. We know what it's doing. If you're not playing item removal in your decks, what are you doing? They're just gonna flute you and you're gonna get got. I'm telling you, this deck is actually pretty insane. You're gonna see this weekend at your set championships. What do you guys think? Do you think Sleepy's Flute has a place in the meta? Do you think Amethyst Steel has a place in the meta? I was expecting to see these players in these lists in top 8, you know, top 4. I think Amethyst Steel is such a polarizing deck sometimes because of the way a Whole New World resolves, but you know, we're not seeing it in the top 8. Sometimes it's just not your day. Sometimes it's not your matchup either, you know. I have seen and heard before that Ruby Sapphire has a really good matchup against Amber Steel decks, you know what I mean? So maybe they got paired into that at some point or something. But point is, what do you think about the variety of Amber Steel decks? Do you think Pride Lands is the best one? Do you think Lantern is the move? Do you think Sleepy's Flute is the way? Do you play any of those? Let me know in the comments below. Next up, we got Corey Patrick, top 16. Shout out you for getting top 16 with Mufasa, Amber, Ruby. Did not expect this. This was for sure one of the outliers, for sure one of the underdog decks. If you want to play an anti-meta deck, if you want to play something that you're probably not going to see a lot of mirror matches in, maybe consider playing this Mufasa list. I personally think this list is straight up gas. I love it. This list is big gasoline in my opinion. We're playing first of all, it looks so consistent. This deck looks so consistent, Corey Patrick. I just want to give you a shout out. Kudos to how many 4-ofs you're playing in this deck. It makes me feel good. It gives my brain serotonin tinglies. We got 4 Mother Gothel, Simba, Sleepy, Doc, Minnie Mouse, Pongo again, because we have the Ruby and the Amber Pongo. We got 4 Rapunzel, Goofy, Maui, Mufasa, Tremaine, Carefree Surfer Stitch, Maleficent Monstrous Dragon. The only 2-ofs that we have in this deck are going to be Chernabog and the Scar, which are uninkable. They're huge characters, and you probably don't want to see multiple of those in your hand in the beginning of the game. So that makes total sense to me. Maybe even you want to see 1 Chernabog in the beginning of the game because you're playing such a character-heavy deck. The odds of you getting characters in your discard pile are going to be pretty high. You know what I mean? As turns go on, you're going to be able to play this Chernabog by like at least turn 5 or 6, and if they're playing Whole New World and you discard a bunch of characters and you draw into your Chernabog is so free. That's why I like this deck. That's why I like this deck style. There's no songs in this deck. There's no non-characters in this deck. I've seen a lot of people trying to make Mufasa happen, and they're always playing stuff like Bare Necessities. They're playing Be Prepared and stuff, and those cards, they just get hit by Ursula and Bare Necessities and stuff like that, you know? So when you're playing none of those cards, they never get any value. You're only playing characters, so it maximizes the Whole New World potential for your Chernabog to be able to be super low cost every time they use Whole New World on you. I think that's pretty good. Also, Chernabog makes it so that you never deck out in this deck, and sometimes you can grind out with those Whole New World decks to the point where they're about to deck out and you just won't ever, because you're gonna play Chernabog, shuffle everything in. If that Chernabog ends up getting banished, you can play your second Chernabog, shuffle everything again, and you just repeat the cycle. So thanks, shout out you, Corey Patrick. Top 16, Amber, Ruby, Mufasa. Love to see it. Definitely an outlier, definitely more of an anti-meta deck. If you don't want to run into any mirror matches this weekend at your set champs, probably consider playing a deck like this. In top 16, we have another Emerald Amethyst list piloted by Diego Saz. I think we've talked about Diego Saz on the channel before, if I'm not mistaken. Some interesting cards here that we didn't see in the last list, like Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo. We're playing Lyle Tiberius. We're also playing 2 copies of Lucifer, the Cunning Cat, which is going to be really powerful with Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo. You can sing that and then trigger Lucifer twice if your opponent does not have a song or a action card, I believe, actually. They're going to have to discard 4 cards. So if you resolve this against that Amber, Ruby, Mufasa deck, they don't have any action cards in that deck. They're discarding 4 cards for sure. If you have this in combination with some other discard cards like the like the Ursula Deceiver we see right here, they're going to end up having 0 cards in their hand at some point. We're also playing the Wildcat, which is interesting. Wildcat being a 3/2/3 character that has evasive. He can quest for 1, but his main ability is that he has a second effect that lets him exert and banish an item. So it has evasive as well, so he's going to be really hard to get rid of on the board. So against any item-based deck, you're going to be able to abuse Wildcat maybe more than once, maybe even more than twice if he survives that long on the board. So you have some item removal to play in Emerald if you're struggling against those item decks. And then we're also playing 4 of the petting zoo package right here. Mim, Fox, Rabbit. We have the Merlin Rabbit, the Goat, and we're also playing the Merlin Crab at 3 though. And last but not least, we're playing 3 Queen's Castle to round it off, the 3 Ursula Deceiver of all. But we're playing some end gaming cards, some big body characters here like the Elsa Spirit of Winter and the Genie. The Genie on the job on turn 6 is going to be able to bounce an opposing character, which is pretty nice. He has evasive and he quests for 2. And the Elsa is going to be able to exert the opposing characters, 2 characters actually if you like, and they're going to stay exerted for a whole turn, which is very, very heavy, very impactful. I did not expect these heavy cards though in a deck like this, because I feel like this deck is a little bit more early game oriented. It's pretty fast. Like Lyle Tiberius is also kind of a slow card. Basically what it says is when you play this character, chosen opposing character gains reckless during their turn. So it makes it so that the character you choose can't quest and they have to attack if able, which is actually pretty crazy. And then his other ability is whenever one of your other characters is banished, each opponent loses 1 lore. So against a lot of aggressive strategies, this is going to keep you in the game. And you know, you're going to be able to actually probably come back if you resolve this Lyle Tiberius more than a couple times. Top 16, Ruby Sapphire, piloted by Sean Brandt. His deck called No Teeth, All Ambition. Love to see it. Check this out. We got 4 of the following staples: Develop Your Brain Popsicle, the Fishbone Quill, the Flavor Sham. We got 4 Maui, 4 Gaston, and 4 Be Prepared. Then we're playing 3 Mickey Mouse Detective in this list. We have 2 Bell Strange but Special, which we don't normally see in Ruby Sapphire. We've been seeing it in Sapphire Steel, but not Ruby Sapphire. So Bell's gonna let you ink extra cards in your hand if you need to. It also lets you basically quest for 5 if she survives, but you don't have to make her survive either, because Lucky Dime combo can make it so that you gain those 5 lore the turn you play the Bell. We are playing 3 of the Grandma Storyteller. This is the 2-drop Grandma from the first chapter that basically says when this card is banished, you may put this card into your inkwell face down and exert it. So that's kind of cool. We haven't seen Grandma played in these Sapphire decks in a cool minute. We're not playing the Shift Grandma, but just 2 of those early game Grandmas. We got the 1 Shield of Virtue, which you've been seeing in a lot of the Sapphire Ruby list lately. So you can make sure you combo off with that Flavor Sham. If you have Flavor Sham turn 4, you want to make sure you have an item if you didn't draw Popsicle or something. We got the 3 Queen of Hearts, the 1 Maui's Fish Hook with that 4 Maui combo, and we're playing 4 Tamatoa because he's Tamatoa, 3 Maleficent Monstrous Dragon for the late game, only 2 Tremaine and 2 Medusa though, so that is where our removal is limited. We're also playing 3 McDuck Manor because McDuck Manor is going to let us close the game out sometimes. Just a very powerful location that gives you 2 lore. And this person is playing 3 Judith Hops. Judy Hops is really good. It lets you pop the items like those flutes that we were seeing in Lorcana Bros list, Aaron Rubin, some of these other heavy item oriented decks like these Sapphire Mirror matches. Judy Hops, I feel like it can just get you there, slow the game down a lot for the opponent. And if you have your Fishbone Quill, then you can definitely outramp them. And she quests for 2, which is actually just really powerful in a deck like Ruby Sapphire, because one of the biggest problems with this deck is that you don't quest a lot in the early game. You don't gain a lot of lore until at least like turn 6, turn 7, which is why you play cards like Lucky Dime, McDuck Manor, and White Gaston is so important. But Judy Hops lets you quest for 2 in the early game as well, and it's a 2/3 body against a lot of aggro decks. You can out a lot of characters, so Judy Hops pretty good at 3. That's just my opinion. Check out this list though, another anti-meta sleeper deck. I like this deck a lot. I've been trying to toy with this color combo for a minute without playing the Jafar A Whole New World package. We have Amethyst Steel in top 16, piloted by Matthias. Shout out you. This list looks awesome. We're playing 4 Captain Hook, Robin Hood Goons, Mr. Smee, Razul. Razul is a 2 ink character for Steel, 1 strength, 3 willpower that says when this character has no damage, he gains +2 strength. So he's a very similar card to Smee. He's potentially a 2 strength character with he's potentially a 2 cost inkable character with 3 strength and 3 willpower, which is kind of nice. We're playing 4 Benja, which is going to be able to pop those items and quest for 2. Same stats as Judy Hops, very similar. We're playing 4 Friends on the other side. Let the Storm Rage on. We got 4 Fox, 4 Maleficent, Smash, the boss is on a roll, Along Came Zeus, Merlin, Goat, Merlin Rabbit, and Robin Hood, Champion of Sherwood. I love the consistency in this deck. Yes, a consistent goon. Shout out you. We're playing 4 of every card. That's just how we do it. 4 of every card. 60 card list. Love to see it. This is actually intense. The Bosses on a Roll is a card we don't see a lot in Lorcana. Basically, what this card lets you do is you look at the top 5 cards of your deck, you put them back in any order or the top and the bottom of your deck, however you'd like, and then you gain 1 lore. The gaining 1 lore part is actually super important because sometimes you just need to get there with that deck. With this deck, you're going to be gaining a lot of early lore with your Smees, your Benjas, and cards like that, and then you can end the game off with goats and bouncing your goats, etc. And using the Bosses on a Roll can let you manipulate your top 5 cards and basically ensure that you draw everything you want to draw or want to see, which is kind of cool in a deck like this. So dang, shout out you, Matthias. I'm gonna try this deck list out because it looks really interesting to play. We are playing 4 Smash, which is gonna help us out those 3 willpower characters like the Queen Commanding Presence or some of those Ursula characters that are sticky on the board. So that's kind of cool. And then the only songs we have are gonna be the the Boss on a Roll, Along Came Zeus, Friends on the Other Side, and Let the Storm Rage On. This is like almost like a tempo aggro deck. You really want to have a good curve playing a Hook on turn 1 or even like a Robin Hood, and then on turn 2 you want to see either a Samir or a Razul. Turn 3 you for sure want to play a character so that you can ensure that you sing your friends on the other side on turn 4. So either you play Benja, Don't Do Nothing, or you play Maleficent Sorceress. You can even just play Madam Infox, which is great. And what's crazy is that your highest cost character is that Robin Hood Champion of Sherwood, which is shiftable, but before outside of that, your highest cost card is 4. Like almost everything in this deck is less than a 4 cost card, which is actually pretty crazy. It's like a high 4 deck. You know what I mean? Because Robin Hood, you could just shift them for 3. So the highest cost cards are Rabbit, Merlin, and the Along Came Zeus outside of the shiftable Robin Hood. So very interesting list. Shout out again to you, Amethyst Steel, Matthias, for getting top 16 in this best of 2 in this 2-game format. Real quick, I also want to mention decks like this are insanely good because a lot of times some players, including myself, think that we understand the meta. We have the meta mastered. We've seen all the deck lists and whatnot. So, when we see people like Inca Fox and play a Hook, I'm going to think, oh, you're playing Amethyst Steel, right? So then I'm going to assume you're playing Jafar. I'm going to assume you're playing a Whole New World. So then I'm going to start dumping my hand out and assume I'm playing into a Whole New World, right? And then when you switch up the strategy on me and you don't do that and you start playing cards like Razul, Benja, you're getting rid of my items, you're taking control of the board with the Foxes and getting some great trades, and before I know it, I'm losing the game because I assumed I underestimated your deck and assumed that I knew it all, right? So decks like this, they're really hard to play around if you don't know their list or their strategy, so you kind of have to also like pay attention to how they're playing. And last but not least, we have a Ruby Sapphire list. This is the list that I like to call the Zepha list because it looks very similar to the list that Zepha made a YouTube video on and that he posted about on Dreamborn. But playing some interesting cards. Shout out you, Joshua Freeman Birch, for getting top 16 in the biggest Lorcana tournament ever playing Ruby Sapphire. We have 4 Developer Brain, 4 Popsicle, 4 Motunui, which is a 2 cost location that has a 1 move cost and a 5 willpower that says whenever a character is banished while here, you can put that card into your inkwell face down and exert it. So everybody becomes a grandma when they're at Motunui, which is kind of cool to see. Queen of Hearts at 4, Fishbone Quill, another Grandma Tala right there, Keeper of the Secrets. We have the Flavorsham at 4, 4 Maui, 4 Tamatoa, Be Prepared, Madame Medusa, and Maleficent Monstrous Dragon. We're not playing Lady Tremaine in this list from what it's looking like, so that's kind of interesting. We are playing a little bit more aggressive characters. In the early game, we have 3 of the uninkable Stitch Little Rocket. This is a 2 cost uninkable character with 3 strength and 1 willpower that has Rush. We're also playing the 3 Judith Hops because we want to have outs to the opposing Sapphire matchups. 3 McDuck Manor to close the game out. 1 Nick Wild because he's going to add back our Popsicles. Dang, we haven't seen Nicky Dubs in a long time. That's kind of cool to see. Nick Wild adds a Popsicle back from the discard pile, and he quests for 2, and he has a 2/4 stat line, which is kind of nice. So Nicky Dubs, the one Nicky Dubs in there. We got Gaston, the intellectual powerhouse, at 3. We're also playing 2 Lucky Dime to combo off with that Gaston, and it probably helps combo off with the Nick Wild and the Judith Hops as well. We also got 1 copy of Scar to round off this deck list. Scar, making an impact in the meta, helps you out locations, helps you slow down the aggressive matchups, and cannot be hit from the hand with Bare Necessities and the Ursa the Deceiver. So yeah, check, that's top 16 right there for you guys. Let me know what you guys think of these lists. Shout out Joshua Freeman Birch for getting top 16 with Ruby Sapphire. Shout out Taya Beastie. Shout out the pack, everyone involved with this huge tournament. 367 players. If you guys are interested in these tournaments, please follow Tiana Discard on Twitter, on X, on Twitter, all those places. They are a wonderful content creator. They have so much to offer the community. All of these events that they're hosting are they're pretty cheap for the amount of pricing that you win. You can play them from your home if you have Pixelborn. And if you don't have Pixelborn, you know, be sure to download it, check it out. I've been doing some live streams. I'm gonna do one this week again. If you have any questions, ask me on the live stream, or even just leave a question in the comments or something. Shout out once again, Christopher Anderson getting first place with Ruby Sapphire decks. Really powerful, this format. Be sure to take that into consideration while you prep for your set championships. But until then, remember to stay tuned to Lorcana Goons, and we will see you Goons next time.